Hey, what's up guys? nKuch here, and today we're going to be comparing the Razer Raiju controller to the Scuf Infinity controller. Now of course, both of these products are for the PlayStation 4 console, and although this isn't available just yet in North America, it will be coming soon. And that's why I wanted to compare both of these just in case some of you guys are kind of on the fence and don't know which one to pick. Now I have to mention two things before we actually get into the nitty-gritty details. The first is that I am sponsored by Scuf Gaming. I thought I'd get that out of the way. I will be as unbiased as I possibly can, and the second thing is that I will not cover the durability of the Razer Raiju because I've only had it for about a week and a half and I've played with it for probably about 3 days, and of course it will last 3 days. Even though I can't compare the durability of both these controllers, I still think I can touch on a few areas that you guys might find very helpful and insightful. If that's the case, I would very much appreciate a like on the video as it supports the channel. Now the areas that I'm going to be covering are of course the packaging of the products, the product build, the customization, and the features and utility. Those in my opinion are the 4 categories that are very important, and without further ado, let's get right into it. The first field that we're going to be taking a look at is of course the packaging. Here is the Scuf controller. We're going to start off with this one. The first thing that you're going to notice is that there's a loose sleeve on top of the box. I'm just going to go ahead and slide that right off, and then also take the lid off of the box, and then there is the controller. It's literally just sitting inside of some foam. It's protected very well though, you know, it does the job. It doesn't really need to be elegant or fancy, but yeah, there it is. A little bit basic, but you know, the packaging's probably something that a lot of people might not care for. It's safe during transportation, and that's really the most important thing. Here's a little rundown and view of my controller. Next up, we have the packaging for the Razer Raiju controller. As you can tell, the box is a lot bigger, and one thing that I'll note is that it's actually a lot heavier as well. So going ahead and opening it up, the packaging is a lot more presentable and elegant. Inside here, the first thing you're going to notice is the controller within a pouch. It's very secure in here. I can tell you guys that much because you can just like throw this around and it doesn't move. It's kind of like a hard case. The back has a little bit of soft areas as well, but it's very secure. I can tell you guys that much. And opening it up, I'll show you guys how it looks inside here once we get it open. And there's the controller. On the top, there's a little place where you can put some cables, I guess. And at the very bottom here, I don't know if you can see it, but there is actually a tool for removing the triggers at the back. I'll get to that a little bit later on, but overall, if you want to talk about packaging, I think I'm gonna have to give the edge to Razer. It's a lot more elegant. Even though both of them are secure, I'm still gonna give it to the Razer. And one thing I thought I'd mention is that it actually comes with a cable to connect to your PlayStation 4 controller, so you can charge it right inside here. It's like a braided material. It is very long, so if you're actually playing on a TV, you should not have any issues whatsoever. The second category that we're going to be taking a look at is of course the build quality of the controllers. This is probably the most important because build quality directly kind of links to the durability of the controller. Now just because I've been using these Scuf controllers for about a year now, I can say that the build quality is very sturdy. There's never any loose components or anything that feels like it's about to break, and that's very important. When it's just a solid feel in your hands where it feels sturdy, that is probably the most important thing. And that's how I feel whenever I grip the controller. And the good thing about it is that if you are coming from a regular PlayStation 4 controller, you're probably going to get used to this very quickly. I'd say within probably 3 days of playing, because the only extra thing that you have on Scufs are paddles and sticks that are a little bit taller depending on which ones you got. The only issues that I've ever had in terms of build quality are these sticks themselves. They are Scuf sticks, so they are not the regular PS4 ones that you can get, but there's many alternatives to getting this fixed. The first one is of course putting on an aftermarket stick, so like a Control Freak. Another thing that you can do is just simply replace the sticks very simply, and you can actually do this with a cool little thing that these Scuf Infinity controllers have on all of their products, which is the Infinity Ring and Lock system. It allows you to easily remove any one of the sticks if there's ever an issue with them, or if you just want to customize it and change colors. I believe you can buy sticks for like $5 as well, so it's pretty damn cheap and it's very easy to replace. Moving on to the Razer controller, this thing is different in terms of the build in every way possible. Now for starters, the most obvious thing is the shape of the controller. It looks a lot like an Xbox controller, and I'm tempted to say the original Xbox from way back when in the early 2000s. It almost feels like that type of controller. Now obviously it's not as heavy or bulky or anything like that, but if you are looking to switch to this controller from a regular PlayStation controller, I do have to warn you that it is substantially bigger in your hands. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people do like bigger controllers, some people like smaller controllers. It really just depends on personal preference, but I definitely prefer the way that the Scuf controllers feel and the regular PlayStation controllers. This just reminds me too much of an Xbox controller, and I'm not really the biggest fan of the Xbox controllers. Now, there are things that I absolutely love about the build, and there's things that I absolutely hate. Now, let me get the hatred out of the way here. The sticks on this thing are, I'm just gonna say it, they're bad. I don't like them whatsoever. They come off very easily and they feel very cheap. They feel very plasticky. Now, if you can see, you can just pull this blue rubber right off just like that. It's a small little piece. Camera probably won't focus on that. I don't really blame the camera for not focusing on that. But it comes off just like that, and it just doesn't feel very good. The stick feels too large and it doesn't have enough grip, and I feel like it doesn't have like a dip in the middle of it, so you can't control it very well. And it's very difficult to describe exactly how I'd like a stick to feel, but not like this. I can say that much about the controller. But moving on to the good thing about this controller is that the faceplate buttons are the best I've ever used on any controller. Instead of them being actual buttons, they're almost just like a mouse. Listen to this. It feels like you're just clicking your mouse in, which is amazing. You don't have to push it all the way down. A small little tap is all that you need for it to actually activate, which is amazing. I don't know why PlayStation or Xbox never had this on their controllers before. It feels like you're playing with a mouse when you click them, which is pretty damn awesome. But that is it in terms of the build. I think it's pretty solid. The grip on the back is very nice. The triggers feel pretty sturdy as well, but I mean, some of the buttons are just a little bit unnecessary in my opinion. There are a lot of them that they added, but we'll get to all those features in just a second. The build quality on this is overall really good. I just have a big issue with the sticks and the way that the controller is shaped. The next thing we're going to talk about is customization, and honestly I don't even have to spend that much time on customization because everyone should know that Scuf is easily going to be the winner. I don't even think the Raijus can come in any different colors or combinations. I think this is the controller that everybody gets. So there's literally no customization on it whatsoever. Now the controller itself can be tweaked and made to your liking in terms of the way some of the buttons are, and you can adjust them and that kind of stuff. But in terms of colors, different grips, that type of stuff, it is not for customization whatsoever. Now the Scuf controller on the other hand, everything on this bad boy is just fully customizable. Now I'm talking from the faceplate buttons to the actual front of the controller, the shell. You can also change the sticks, the stick color, the stick length, the infinity ring and lock system. You can change the triggers, you can change the back grip, you can change practically everything on this controller. And to give you guys an idea of some of the examples and crazy color schemes that you can do, let me go ahead and grab my other controllers. Alrighty, so I got myself all my controllers, and the first thing you're probably going to notice is that I am a hoarder of these Scuf controllers. I absolutely love them. Now, the grip on this one in terms of the stick is a little bit torn right there, but I've had this controller for probably about a year now, so this one has lasted me a very long time. Shout out to the OGs. We also have this one right here. As you can see, it is green and white. It's also got the sick grip on the back as well. Pretty nice stuff. And then I also have this one right here. This is blue carbon fiber. It's kind of like a white / silver build. Very, very nice stuff with a black military grip on the back. And then finally, you know, the one that I showed you guys, black gold with blue military grip on the back. So these are just a small sample of how you can actually customize them. There's probably millions and millions of different options that you can do. I'm in love with the carbon fiber shells, but my point is that the customization hands down is Scuf's game. I don't think Razer has any chance of competing with them whatsoever. Now, is customization that important? Maybe not to you, or maybe it's very important to you. In my opinion, it's kind of, I'm kind of like centered on the issue. I'm not like a massive fan of customization, but at the same time, having a nice controller that also does the job is amazing. So if you're looking for customization, Scuf is definitely the better of the two. Alright, now we're going to talk a little bit about the utility and discuss the features on both of these controllers. There's a lot of stuff to get to, so I really hope I don't miss anything, and if you're still on the fence about which one you like better, now is probably the time where you're going to decide. This is a pretty important category. Features are essentially what makes the controller valuable. Starting things off with the Scuf controller, the most notable thing and the thing they're really known for are these Scuf paddles on the back. When you put your hands on the controller, your middle finger just gently, perfectly fits where the paddles are. I like that so much. The positioning is great on them. You can tell they did a lot of research and testing before actually putting the paddles where they're at, and I really like the feedback that you get from them. They make a nice clicking noise, and I've had this controller for about a month now and it still makes that nice clicking noise. I also like the pressure that you have to put on them. It doesn't feel like you can by accident click them or anything like that. On the Razer controller, that is something that I'll get to in a bit, but when you click on the triggers, sometimes you don't even mean to click it because they're so sensitive, and you can't really change how sensitive they are. With the Scuf controller, it is a proper click. You have to actually press firmly for the panel to activate, which is a really good thing in my opinion, because if it's too sensitive, you don't want to be jumping or sliding or doing things that you don't want your character to do by accident. That would obviously not be a very good thing. Another feature that I really like about this Scuf Infinity controller is the Infinity ring and lock system right here. You can easily take this off, and that allows you to remove the sticks with ease. It honestly probably would take you about 10 seconds to remove them, and so if they ever become like dirty, if they ever become torn or anything like that, you can very simply and honestly within 10 seconds just remove the sticks to whichever ones you want. So you can customize it, you can change it if it ever breaks. There's a lot of things that it's beneficial for. There's two more things that I want to take a look at. The first one is the trigger stop on this controller. Hopefully the camera focuses in on it, but it is right underneath the trigger. It might be very difficult to see, but it's a very simple system. All you want to do is grab one of the tools that they give you within the controller kit, and you can actually twist that little plastic knob, and you can adjust how much the trigger actually stops. So it's adjustable, which is nice. You can make it much more sensitive when it comes to FPS games, or you can make it, you know, the full dynamic range for games like driving, where you really don't want a trigger stop whatsoever. So that's a nice little feature, but I will say that when you compare the two trigger stops on the Razer and the Scuf, I think the Razer one has it beat, and I'll get to that in just a second. The very last thing that I want to take a look at in terms of the Scuf controller is the military grip on the back. Not only does it look very awesome and it comes with different colors, but it has such an amazing feel to it, and it's by far the best grip that I've used on any controller. I need it on every single one of my Scufs. The first few things that we're going to cover on the controller are the ones that I already briefly touched on, such as the stick. You can actually just simply remove this, and you can see a black stick underneath it. This is almost like a grip, and I'm guessing that control freaks would probably fit very easily on this, so that is probably a bonus for some people. Of course, the face buttons here are clicks. You don't actually have to push them down very far. It's a nice smooth mouse clicking noise, which is very nice. And then there are a ton of buttons over here where the trigger and bumper is. I don't know if the camera will focus here. Hopefully it does in a second. Wait for it. There it is. So in addition to having the trigger right here and the trigger here and the bumper here and the bumper here, there's actually a button right over here. It's very strange. I'm not too sure how you can actually use this to your benefit in a first-person shooter. I honestly never hold my controller like this, so that is very strange to me. I don't even know how you would reach this button without clicking the triggers. In my opinion, I don't like these buttons being here. It'd be cool if they maybe were somewhere else, or maybe it would be cool if they weren't there at all. I don't know. I just feel like they're a little bit useless, but there are extra buttons there just in case you wanted to program maybe like an X, a circle, a triangle, or maybe a square there. Or if you're even playing games like Mortal Kombat, maybe you can put one of the, you know, up, down D-pad buttons there. I feel like those are very strange because they're in weird positions that you can't really reach without hitting the trigger by accident. On the backhand side, instead of the paddles like you have on the Scuf, you have triggers, and these are extremely sensitive. I'm talking you can hit these things very easily without even trying to. Now, I was playing Destiny the other day with this, and I was actually trying to jump around and do all sorts of things, and it is very strange not having a button there. It feels just like a mouse click, so it's very, very sensitive, and for FPS games, that might not be the best thing for your controller. That's my personal opinion. I'm not really the biggest fan of it. The mouse clicks, you know, it sounds really cool. It's a good feedback, but I feel like the triggers are a little bit too high. They're too elevated. My fingers don't gently rest on it, and if they do rest on it, then I'm going to click it by accident. So that's not really the best thing from the triggers. I wish there was a way of maybe adjusting the actual pressure you needed to put on them for them to click. That would be very beneficial. Now, if you don't want these triggers here, you can actually take them out with a handy little screwdriver that they hand you within the Razer box. So these can just completely come out very simply within about 15 seconds. So that's also a very nice feature. And I think this has to be my favorite feature on the controller. At the bottom hand side underneath the sticks, there are 4 buttons, and these buttons do a lot of really cool techie stuff for the controller. If you ever want to remap the triggers on the backhand side or the bumpers right behind the triggers and bumpers, you can easily do so by clicking one of these buttons, holding down the trigger, and then clicking one of the faceplate buttons. That'll automatically move the button to that, and it just is such a seamless process, which is really awesome. You can also choose profiles here for different games. So if you're playing Destiny, for example, you can choose profile 1. If you want to play Call of Duty and you have different button assignments, you can click number 2. It's just such an easy process, and you don't have to pay extra money for that feature. On Scufs, for example, if you do want to buy the electromagnetic remapping system, that will cost you a few extra dollars. It might be like 15 bucks, and that'll actually allow you to change the paddles to whatever you want. So this comes with it installed, and it comes with an entire system. The only thing that I'm really worried about is if one of these things breaks or has a problem, I feel like the entire controller's hardware is going to have to be replaced and just changed, which might cost you a lot of money to repair. But again, I don't know the durability on these controllers. I haven't used them for a very long time, but some of these features are extremely cool. They have extra buttons, things are very seamless, and they transition easily, and you can also mute your mic at the bottom there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you can mute your mic there, and what does that button do? That allows you to hear game and audio chat, I believe. It allows you to transition between them. So overall, this is a seriously packed controller. It has a ton of features, and a lot of them are very good. But like I said, there are certain problems that I find with the controller. I don't like the sticks. I don't like the shape or feel of the controller, and I feel like the triggers are a little bit too sensitive on the back end, and these I think are a little bit useless. I don't know how you can use these without clicking the triggers and bumpers by accident, but overall it is a solid packed controller that I will enjoy playing certain games with. But for me personally, the Scuf controller is the one that I'm going to main and use on a daily basis, mostly because I'm just so used to the controller, and I've been using it for probably the past year now, and I've had, you know, a pretty good relationship with them. Now, which one is better overall? I don't know. I can't give you guys the answer to that. That is up to you guys. I've given you my opinions. I've given you the facts on some of the features and customization, but that is going to do it for the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. If you learned something, definitely drop a like on the video as it supports the channel. Subscribe for more content. Have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Peace.